Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Thankful Thursday. So today we're going to be doing a sequence, a Yin Yoga sequence for spring, for purification. It's that time of renewal, of purification. And it's also a time in Yin to open up the Liver Meridian. The liver is our organ of purification, of course. So in Ayurveda, the sister science of yoga, we would say springtime is kapha time. It's kind of that emerging from the heavy, cold cave of life and out into spring. So we want that renewal, that purification kind of thing. So I had the honor of taking a wonderful Yin workshop last weekend with Melissa Carroll here in Tampa. It was on Zoom, of course. And she's a wonderful teacher. She's also the editor of my meditation book, so great shout out there. And she really went into the meridians in Yin Yoga. So meridians are going to be vessels, kind of like we have blood vessels, we have energy vessels. So they're used a lot in acupuncture, acupressure. They align with the chakras, the nadis, etc., etc. And so the liver meridian is going to run from the inside of our big toe around to the ankle here, and then it's going to kind of go up the inner thigh, inner leg. It kind of comes around the hip and then joins up with what we call the lung meridian. And then it goes up, of course, into the abdomen, the liver area. And then it also kind of crisscrosses up the neck and around, it loops around the mouth, and it's going to come up over the side of the head kind of, and into the forehead and the crown of the head, where it's going to link up with the governor vessel. So the governor vessel is one of the two main lines of energy that we have. So the governor actually goes all the way up the back of the spine, and then in the front we have what's called the conception meridian. And so those are the overall kind of, we'll do a little meditation with that too. And then the other meridians are paired up into the yin and the yang. So the yin being the receptive, the deep, the slow, the holds, and the yang being the fiery. So liver and gallbladder go together. The liver relates mostly to the third chakra. And so that is, the third chakra, the liver meridian, some of the liver meridian poses in yin. They say the liver is the seat of kindness and human kindness, compassion. But on the other end, if there's anything going on energetically kind of blocked, you might experience anger. So I love Yin Yoga because I feel when I'm done with a really good Yin Yoga class, I feel almost like I had a massage. So it's just this wonderful kind of thing. And Yin is, it's been a transformational process in my life. When I had my hip replacement last June, I had to do a lot of Yin Yoga if I wanted to do any form of active yoga. I say active lightly. I mean anything more than, Pranayama or Yoga Nidra. So any kind of movement based. That being said, Yin Yoga has a lot of confusion for some folks that are new to yoga. Sometimes they get it confused with restorative yoga. And so Yin Yoga is definitely not restorative yoga. In restorative yoga, we use a bunch of props, and we want you to just drape yourself over these props, and just relax, and you really are not feeling anything in the body. And restorative yoga is great, don't get me wrong. We all need to get into that parasympathetic, get out of fight or flight, into rest and digest. But what makes Yin different, it is long holds, kind of like restorative, but restorative, we aren't really feeling anything. So in our Yin practice, Yin is not the easiest practice, I will say. And I was a dancer, so I thought Yin was going to be cakewalk for me, very flexible. No. So the goal of Yin, there's actually 3 principles of Yin. And the one is to come into an appropriate depth. So for someone who's very flexible, that doesn't mean come into your deepest pose, because we're going to hold these poses for some time. Now today, the holds are going to be about 90 seconds to 2 minutes, because I don't want to, but when I teach a class, it's 90 minutes to 2 hours. If it's a Yin Yoga, Yin workshop, Yin and Nidra kind of thing. So today we want to keep it under an hour, but knowing that you're going to be holding these poses for a while, you don't want to force yourself into them. You want to come to that just appropriate edge. That means coming to a place where you feel a stretch, but not your deepest stretch that you can go to. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And then the second principle is you want to be still there and just allow your muscles to relax. So as I said, yin is the receptive, yang is the active. So for instance, in a yang class, we're pointing or flexing our feet. In yin, we just want to kind of let the muscles be. So sometimes I have folks tense up all their muscles. You can do that now with me. Tense, 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 and then just let go. And so that's kind of what it feels like. So yin is cool, so we're not doing that fiery, fiery flow kind of yoga. But it is not the easiest. Some of the holds are interesting, shall I say. And then the third principle is just that. We hold each posture for a time. And the time can be, well, for a general class, it's usually 3 to 10 minutes, but I've taken master classes that have held poses for longer than that. So that being said, I do suggest getting some props. I won't use too many props, but I'm going to have them around to kind of demonstrate different positions. So if you're at home, you might use some pillows, some blankets, couch cushions. If you're a yogi, then maybe a couple blocks. If you have a bolster, blankets are always nice. I always have a blanket behind just to support my lower back kind of deal. And because it is about the liver and purification, I'm using Zendocrine doTERRA oil, so it's a detox blend. That being said, that's the blend that I take a lot of things internally or diffuse them. When I do a yin class, I like to kind of let my mind relax. So I'll generally, which I did today, roll on some lavender oil. I did one, or some Adaptive or Serenity. I love doTERRA's new kit. It's for sleep actually, but it comes with Serenity. It comes with bath salts. It comes with the Serenity capsules and the Serenity oil. It comes with a cedar wood to diffuse, and it comes with Calmer, which is also a nice relaxing scent. It even gives you a little gratitude journal, so that's also a nice option if you like to add some aromatherapy to your practice. All right, so this practice, as I said, it's going to be grounded, low to the floor. It's very slow moving. It's going to be appropriate for most folks, but you'll need to honor your body. All right, so finding a comfortable seated position, whatever that means for you. We're going to bring our hands together so that the index fingers touch the tips of the thumbs and the other 3 fingers go upright. So if you're looking at your hands, it kind of looks like the thumbs and the index fingers make 2 eyeballs and the other 3 fingers are touching and upright. And then you can bring that in close to your heart area there. Maybe you soften your gaze or close your eyes completely and just begin to take those nice, full, easy, relaxing breaths. If you're a yogi, you might be doing your 3-part breath, dirga breathing. Just inhaling, filling the belly, letting the ribs flare out like the gills of a fish, taking the breath all the way up into the clavicles, and then exhaling, reversing the direction, drawing navel muscles slightly up, slightly in. Knowing that's going to compress the vagus nerve, moving you into that rest and digest. And so this hand position in yoga is known as Chitta Mudra, which is our gesture of witness consciousness for going within. Yin Yoga is a very internal kind of practice. And so the 2 eyes that I mentioned, the index fingers and thumbs forming, are actually known as the eyes of clear seeing because they symbolize our ability to discern between the true self and the ego self. And the triangle formed by the middle ring and pinky fingers symbolizes the harmony of the body, the mind, and the spirit, supported by witnessing. So this hand position is going to help us to open and balance that 6th chakra, the center of wisdom. It's going to direct our breath and our awareness to the neck, to the head, helping us to relax the muscles of the face while allowing our senses to rest. This also helps to release tension from the shoulders, the throat, the vocal cords, and create space between thoughts, aiding us in that mental clarity, helping us to release any limiting beliefs. So you can keep your hands there if it's comfortable, or just release them down, allowing the eyes to be soft or closed. Just breathing here. If you like, you can repeat the following mantra silently to yourself. Through the gradual release of limiting beliefs, I continue my journey with greater clarity. Through the gradual release of limiting beliefs, I continue my journey with greater clarity. Teal Swan said, the people who trigger us to feel negative emotion are messengers. They are messengers for the unhealed parts of our being. And isn't it interesting, I wonder if you already know, that we are all really mirrors for each other. You know, if someone says or does something that is hurtful, annoying, something that brings up resentment or fear, anything negative really, that is a sign that there is an underlying memory or association in our past that is unresolved, and this can be a good thing to realize, can it not? After all, if we were truly confident in ourselves, and whole, feeling fine, no word or action would give us this self-doubt or this pause or disrupt our flow. They say if you spot it, you got it, so chances are if something you see in someone else bothers you, you might have a touch of that very quality to work through yourself. And the more we peel away at those layers of the proverbial onion, if you will, the more we are able to step into true self-realization and healing. And if you feel it, you can heal it, they say. So I'd like to invite you now to take another full and easy breath in, and as you exhale, let come to mind a recent time, perhaps a time when someone said or did something that brought up something slightly negative, maybe a little negative emotion in you, whatever that might be for you. And as you do, just ask yourself, what's beneath this? Am I relating this to something else? Or what's so horrible about this? And notice if this person was really trying to hurt you, or were they unaware of their transgression? Just noticing. You don't have to associate fully into it, just noticing. And if they seem to be trying to actually be hurtful, what do you think someone might have done to them to cause this? You might even say to yourself, regardless of what you think happened to that person, just as I want happiness and to avoid suffering, and so does this person want happiness and to avoid suffering. Just send anyone that you feel may have hurt you some compassion. This can be a lovely daily practice. And then just releasing that from the mind, taking a clearing breath, and keeping the eyes soft or even closed. So Yin Yoga ties in with Taoist techniques. And so as you're taking those full and easy breaths in, feel yourself grounded down, feeling your sits bones on the ground, the mat, cushion, wherever you are. Allowing the focus to be down there at the base of the spine, that root chakra. And on your next inhale, just imagine this breath, this flow of energy, prana, chi, or ki, rising up the back of your spine, rising all the way up, across the back of your head to your crown, coming around to that third eye at the brow point. And as you exhale, just imagine that breath, that energy flowing gently and gracefully down the front line of your torso. Again, when ready, next inhale, inhaling up from that root chakra, the spine, all the way up the spine. Coming around to that third eye center, and then exhaling down front torso of the body, back down to the root. Feeling that circle of energy flowing, inhaling up the back line of the body, bringing the breath, the energy over the crown, around to that third eye point, and then exhaling slowly down the front line of the body. Continuous circle of energy, circle or cycle of life, just as spring is that time of life reawakening, flowers budding. And so our breath has circles and cycles. By focusing on this type of meditation known as the microcosmic orbit, we're recycling our energy here. And so just a couple more rounds here. That's right, nicely now. And then slowly, when ready, coming back to the room. Good, good, good. And so from here, we'll move into a couple rounds of Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. So if you are a yogi and you know Vishnu Mudra, you basically take your peace fingers, lower them down to the palm of the hand, and your thumb, ring, and pinky on your right hand. Of course, if you have anything going on with your right hand, you can use the left. Traditionally, it's done right. And if that's not comfortable for you, feel free to just use thumb and index finger. And so we'll be beginning by gently blocking off the right nostril and inhaling up the left. So if one nostril is kind of occluded, you don't need to block it all the way off or be harsh. Be nice and gentle here. But when you're ready, gently blocking off that right nostril. Of course, if you've had a recent nasal surgery or have something going on, feel free to just do this mentally. If you're doing it physically, go ahead and block off that right nostril and inhale up the left. And seal the left nostril and exhale right. Inhale right, seal the right, and exhale left. Again, inhale left, and seal the left. Exhale right, of course going at your own pace. Inhale right, seal the right, and exhale left. And then again, inhale left, seal that left, exhale right, inhale right, seal the right, and exhale left. And then gently release any mudra, just pausing here, noticing what you notice. So Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, is a very calming, balancing breath. We always begin and end on the left nostril. Inhaling is the beginning, exhaling is the ending. As the left nostril is in tune with the Ida or the Yin, so it's a calming. And the right nostril is our Yang or our Pingala, it's fiery, so it's more energizing. So going back and forth balances, but we like to end on the left to soothe. All right. So if you're ready, just very gently tilt your head over to the right, honoring your body, of course. And then slowly bring the head back up. And then tilt it to the left. And again, inhale up, exhale, head right. Inhale up, exhale left, and then let the chin, if comfortable, drop down to the center. Maybe you even move very slowly side to side with the neck. So we're opening up the sides of the neck where the liver meridians are at the top, and then we're just gonna roll our shoulders back and down, back and down, back and down. So we'll be coming into half butterfly. So poses in Yin have different names. So in Yang Yoga, butterfly is cobblers. In Yin, it's called butterfly. So to do half butterfly, we're gonna take the left leg in, and the right leg will be out to the side to a comfortable position. So you can take those couch cushions or a bolster if you like. I'm gonna time this so we don't spend 10 minutes in my favorite pose too. And we're gently going to be folding forward. So you might even tense up that leg, that right leg that's extended, and then just let it relax completely. And that's the way we kind of want to practice Yin whenever possible. That being said, we're not going to stack up the props so much so that we don't feel any kind of stretch. So when you're ready, you'll come forward. You can always add more props, just folding down to that appropriate depth. So I wouldn't necessarily advise like putting your head up like this, but I do need to put my head up a little bit so that the camera picks up. So I might have my head down on the forehead, my forehead down on the block kind of thing. And just allowing the breath to be nice and full and relaxed here. And just letting go. So Yin Yoga is all about stretching not the muscle like our Yang or Vinyasa. It's about stretching out the connective tissue, the fascia, the joints. So we move very quickly in our Vinyasa, our Yang Yoga, because muscles are known to have elasticity. The study of Yin Yoga says that we want to hold poses for generally at least 90 seconds, generally, not some, because our joints, our connective tissue, our fascia is not elastic. It's known to have plasticity. So you can think about if you were to take a credit card and bend it slowly and then let go, it would come back to its original shape. But if you went and folded it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it might snap. So that means that we have that plasticity in our joints. So we want to hold our yin poses. It seems to be that research in exercise physiology is saying that 90 seconds is about what it takes to get an actual stretch to hold. So I've found, as I said, Yin Yoga, we're going to gently come up now to be very helpful after coming back from surgery or injury. Of course, if you are, you need a medical, clearance, of course. I'm going to take that right leg and cross it over now. Again, let the legs be nice and loose and just come into a gentle twist here. And so this is more of a release, but we do still want to do the 6 cardinal movements of the spine, not necessarily a deep yin pose. And then if it's available to you, you'll come into shoelace. In Vinyasa, we would call it a cow face, Gomukhasana. So you want your knees to be stacked. If that's not available to you, then you can always stretch one leg out, all right? But for our intents and purposes, I will teach it the way my body allows me to do it. So making sure that your sits bones are nice and flat on the ground. You generally want your feet to be about the same distance apart. Again, if you like to have any props in front of you, you're welcome to do that. And then when you're ready, you'll take that gentle inhale and then exhale and slowly let yourself lower. If it's comfortable, you can have your hands on the soles of your feet or anywhere really that's soothing to you. Just letting gravity do the work for you. Allowing the breath to be easy, and that 3-part breathing. If the mind begins to wander, you can simply draw it back to the breath. And just letting go. Remembering, Yin is about surrendering into the present, and surrendering into any sensations that arise. So as I said, one of my lovely teachers, Melissa Carroll, she says, the art of Yin is sometimes that we hold the posture for longer than we'd like to. Again, unlike restorative, Yin can be full of feeling, whether it's emotional or physical. Stretches can become intense. Of course, if they become so intense that you feel that you're in pain, you're always welcome to come out. In fact, I'd ask you to practice ahimsa and not harm yourself. But remembering that one of the principles of Yin is that stillness. And so asking yourself if it's necessary to come out. And then we'll slowly come up here, taking the left arm to the side. If it's comfortable for you, You can lower down. So we're gonna do a nice lateral bend here. You can let that elbow come up or anything at all. I'm just gonna take a few breaths here. So you might feel this in that hip there. Different folks feel it different places. About 3 more breaths. Very slowly coming up here. So we're going to move into a posture that I've never done in a vinyasa class, known as fire log. Well, never say never. I have a couple of times, but it was more at the end. So it can sometimes be called, I believe, double pigeon. So basically, this one's a little tricky for me. Your feet are on top of your knees, so it's not like lotus. So if that's uncomfortable for you, feel free to kind of place the ankles on front, if you can see that. I'm not sure if you can see that, so let me push this away. All right, so if, however, you can see on one side, my knee doesn't quite touch my foot, I might take a pillow or a blanket, kind of just settle in there. So for some folks, just this position is really intense. Other folks are going to be able to kind of do that forward fold, either with or without props. So if it is comfortable for you, you can gently begin to fold forward, honoring your body, of course. Wherever you are is where you're meant to be. And just moving into that appropriate depth, and then moving into your stillness. Allowing the breath to be fluid. Might even lengthen the exhales just a little bit, adding to that rest and digest, parasympathetic. And sometimes in Yin Yoga, there can be a tendency to fidget, to move around. And if you are feeling this, you might just notice this tendency and decide only for yourself, as only you can, if you actually do need to move or if you're kind of resisting the stillness. If it is a need to move, of course move, but if you can remain still, then sink into the stillness. Stillness, particularly in our society, can be one of the hardest things. It can be intense. It can be difficult to remain still in a fast-paced society. And yet it is a necessary part of our lives. That's why the yin and the yang are opposites, but they blend together. Just like the day blends into the night, or the spring into the summer. And so just seeing how still you can be. And that's right. And then very, very slowly beginning to rise back up, removing any props. Maybe you even help the legs to unfold. Just pausing for a moment here. And then if it feels good, very, very gently, feet a little wider than hips. Windshield wipe them side to side. No need to go all the way to one side or the other. And then we'll move into that half butterfly on the opposite side. So you can extend your leg out to a comfortable place for you. And then when you're ready, nice inhale. Flat back, fold forward. Sinking to that appropriate depth for you. And then remaining still, knowing that when we come to an appropriate depth, not our deepest depth, sometimes the practice of yin along with gravity will give us that little bit of release where we'll find ourselves going deeper after a time. So today we're not holding the poses particularly long because I like to keep these classes available for lunchtime for the public to be under an hour, but knowing that if you are holding this pose for 5 minutes, you know, after 2 or 3, you might start to move 1 or 2 props out and just see how that feels. You can always back out of any posture at any time. And just allowing the breath to flow. So even in the forward folds, I'm doing my 3-part breath. I'm letting the breath fill my whole body, letting it inflate the back of my body. Again, so it's like that sensation of the breath massaging you from within. Well, we do want to feel something. It's not the restorative. We're not pointing or flexing our feet. Just kind of settling in here. And if your mind begins to do that thing that minds do, such as think or formulate tasks, bring it back to the breath, just letting go. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is what our minds do. They think and they solve problems. But for now, we're just spending time here. And then when you're ready, slowly come back upright. And we'll take that left leg over top. Of course, if your one leg's extended, that's fine. Remember I said the twist is to get cardinal movements of the spine and a little release here. And then coming into your shoelace. Modifying if you need one leg straight or any props for you. And then when ready, nice full breath in on an exhale, hands wherever, props wherever. I like to kind of keep my hands sometimes on the soles of my feet. I find it grounding. And then just letting go. Now, if you need to have a prop on top of your knees, feel free to add those props up there as well. I realize not everyone is going to feel comfortable folding forward like this. And so the Tao in verse 9 says, fill your bowl to the brim and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife and it will blunt. Chase after money and security, and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval and you will be their prisoner. And do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. And so that stepping back is our stillness. So notice if there's anything that you can soften even more. Just letting the body soften. Letting go of any holds, any holdings on. And just being present for yourself. If any emotions arise, no need to push them away. Just notice and stay with the breath. And then very, very slowly rising back upright. And so we'll lower our right elbow or hand, whichever's more comfortable. And again, it's that lateral or side bend here, so just what's comfortable. The head can be down or forward, arm can be draped. About 3 breaths here. And then slowly coming back upright. And then gently moving into that fire log on the opposite side. Again, if you need the cushion or blanket underneath, you want your feet to remain just slightly flexed, not flexed, but not so your ankles are rotated in a funny way. So make sure your knees and ankles are comfortable or supported. And if they're not, then bring one foot further in front. Okay? And then take a nice big inhale. If it's appropriate for you on the exhale, unfold to a comfortable place, an appropriate place, I should say. And just be allowing the breath to massage you. And opening up those channels of energy. Rilke says, I want to unfold. Let no place in me hold itself closed. For when I am closed, I am false. I want to stay clear in your sight. As we do, we just want to let everything unfold, everything open. Time of just being still, being present with ourselves and letting go of the outside world. If the mind begins to wander, simply draw it back to the breath. Some folks find it helpful to count breaths. You can count one inhale and one exhale, and then inhale 2, exhale 2. Or if you like, you can even count how long it takes to do an inhale, and then how long it takes you to exhale, perhaps lengthening the exhale. So if your inhale is 4, maybe you lengthen your exhale to 6. Doing so would slow respirations down to 1 every 10 seconds or 6 per minute. And that's very calming to the nervous system. Generally, we breathe, on average, they say about 16 to 20 or more times a minute. And then very, very slowly coming upright, being kind to yourself, being gentle with yourself. Slowly uncross. And just pause here, letting everything settle. If it feels good, you can do those gentle windshield wipes side to side. Noticing what you notice. So if you do have some couch pillows or some cushions, you might want those for this next prep. So I'm going to demonstrate the way I often teach some new students to come into this. We're going to be coming into what we call in Yin, dragonfly. You might know it as straddle split if you only practice other forms. So sometimes folks, particularly me as an ex-dancer, like to pry those legs apart. So I'm going to encourage you instead, and sit back a little bit, to kind of bring your hands here just for a minute and spread your legs just to where they comfortably go. And maybe you wiggle them just a little bit more. So I feel a stretch, but I can actually do a full split. So I'm not in my fullest split. And then maybe you gather some props here. I have to scoot forward. I'm not deepening my split, but I have to come a little forward to be on my mat here. So if you want some props, maybe you bring that block or a pillow up here. And I'll invite you to take a full breath in, and on an exhale, come forward with the flat back as far as you can, and then let yourself settle in here, relaxing. So I like to put my hands, palms down to ground. If you like to get some more energy, you can always put the palms up. Some folks like to hold on to the end of the bolster. Just remember, like maybe even shake your feet a little bit here side to side so you're not flexing or pointing. If you're holding on to the outside of the bolster, don't be doing the death grip. Just let it be supportive and easy, letting the breath flow. Just noticing what you notice. If this is not letting you have any sensation, then maybe you scoot any props forward just a little bit. So it's not always about how wide apart your legs are. Sometimes it's about just scooting props forward a little tiny bit. Just allowing anything that arises to arise. Sometimes emotions do arise when we come into these deeper postures. And so paying attention to the breath, not disregarding any emotion, but deepening those exhales and staying with emotion, staying with the breath can be a good thing to uncover anything. And so Rumi writes, this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And I love that poem. And so very slowly, coming all the way up here, just taking any props and setting them off to the side. You can help your legs or even bounce them gently in. Bend the knees, pausing for a moment. Again, if you like, you can do that very gentle windshield wiper. Maybe you stretch your legs out and arch the back ever so slightly, not to your fullest. I like to move my neck around a little bit too. So for our next posture, we'll be coming onto the belly. If you want any cushioning underneath your hip bones or anything else, then I'll encourage you to kind of lay a blanket out. If you're using a blanket, make sure that there's not any kind of wrinkles in it. That will only add to any kind of discomfort that you might experience. Props tend to travel with Yin. So we'll be coming to our bellies, as I said. So taking a moment and making sure that you'll be okay on your belly here. All right. So some folks will prefer to do a seal pose where your elbows are behind your wrists here. So in our Yin version of seal, we're not working so hard to be upright. We're not pressing our feet into the ground. So if you have any lower back issues, use caution here. In general in Yin, we're not really activating the glutes to really end up pushing up, okay? But if you need to do that a little bit to protect your lower back, then please do what you need to do. So the other option is to press your hands down and come up into a seal. So again, same thing, we're not rolling the shoulders back and down, we're gonna kind of let it be relaxed. So choosing whichever one you like to get that gentle back bending here. Just allowing the breath to deepen. Letting the neck hang with gravity. And shoulders can even come up here. And honoring your body. And so if you are in seal, I'll do 2 more breaths here and then lower and meet everyone else in Sphinx. So lowering very slowly down. And you might even feel the belly inflating into your mat or your blanket here. And 1 more breath. I'll invite you to lower all the way down and pause for a moment. You can rest your head on your hands, or maybe it's your forehead, maybe you turn to one side. Just pausing for a moment. And then if it's all right on your body, turn the head to the right and bring that right knee off to the side. So you'll feel that inner line of the inner leg. That's your liver meridian there. Very gently and slowly switch. So you're turning your head over to the left, bending that left leg here. Same thing, gently stretching it out. So we're slowly gonna rise up here. And coming into our table position for just a moment. So we're actually going to pad the whole mat with a blanket here, just because I want to really protect knees. So if you have to use a towel or whatever, but you'll definitely want a blanket to be pretty long for our next pose, which is frog pose. So frog pose, you want your knees, your ankles to be behind your knees. So in general, it looks kind of like so. Now, if that's not appropriate for you, you can come onto a bolster. I realize that's a big stretch for many folks, so you can do it on a bolster. I'm gonna turn sideways for 1 minute here. Another option too is if your actual frog is too intense, you can come forward to what we call tadpole, where your hip bones are on the ground. So choose an option that's appropriate in depth, in stretch, etc. for you to begin. Begin to come into that posture now. Just settling in. Noticing if there's anything more that you can soften just a little bit. Sometimes we have a tendency to kind of tense up around the hips coming into these poses. So if the knees are cushioned enough and you don't have any injury, see if you can just let go. You can always slide forward into that tadpole. Just letting the breath flow easily, letting go of any holdings. Feeling the breath moving up the back, massaging you. And perhaps tuning into the ground beneath you, supporting you. And if the mind begins to wander, simply bring it back to the breath. And just letting go. Letting any of those sensations or emotions just be like the guest in Rumi's poem. And gently, if you're not on a bolster, slide forward. If you're on a bolster, just bend your knees. If you're in that tadpole, let the soles of the feet come up to the air. Very gentle reverse windshield wiper if it's appropriate for you and your position. And let the legs stretch out. And we'll slowly come back up. I'm going to turn back around. Face this way now. So you're in your table pose here, and just pause. Some of our deeper postures like that one in Yin are very good for us, but we don't necessarily want to jump into something else or into a counter pose directly right away. So we'll be moving into sleeping swan, which kind of looks like pigeon if you're a yang yoga. So I'm going to do it without props. If you need a prop, you can always be doing this on a bolster. I've seen it done like so. And that's still a very intense stretch, actually. Kind of feels really good. So if you're doing it in our more classic way, like this. You're gonna take your right leg, draw it forward, slide your left leg straight out behind you, and then begin to sink down. If you need something underneath that hip, feel free to prop something up, and then begin to settle down. Now, if this is not accessible to you, even with the bolster, you're welcome to do kind of a thread the needle way on your back, or supine swan pigeon, however you want to call it. So finding a way that's going to be appropriate for you. And then just sinking down. Again, breath is flowing up that spine, back of the body. You might even think about it coming around to the crown and flowing down the front of the body, just like we did in the beginning. That cycle of energy, of chi, of ki, of prana. You might focus on deepening the exhales, lengthening them a little bit. You might just let go. If the mind is very busy, perhaps bring it back to the breath, or even count the breath. Gently let the hands come near those ribs. Lengthen up, but not to your fullest kind of back bend, pigeon kind of way, just that gentle swan. And then come back to table pose, pausing here. You need to do a little hip sway, nothing major, just a settling. And then when you're ready, switch to the opposite leg. So I'm having my left leg front if you're using a bolster, if you're lying on your back, doing what's appropriate for you, of course. And then folding down, letting go. And keeping the breath full and easy, flowing, or perhaps lengthening those exhales. Congratulating yourself on taking some time out to take care of yourself here today. Noticing if there's anything more you can soften, melting and softening. Very slowly planting the hands, gently lengthening up, not all the way. And sliding into that table pose. Just pausing, noticing what you notice. And any little shifties here. And then if appropriate for you, you'll slide back into a really wide-legged child's pose, so you can have the arms out. You can use a bolster. You can lower the head down. Whatever feels best to you. moving into that child's pose now. Perhaps you even rock your forehead back and forth across the mat. Maybe repeating to yourself, I am connected with the wisdom of the universe. I am connected with the wisdom of the universe. I am connected with the wisdom of the universe. And then slowly rising back up. Perhaps moving through a couple gentle cat-cows. Not your fullest and deepest, perhaps, just little movements. Or little hip circles or shifts, anything there at all. We'll be taking, if you have props, 2 blocks like so. If you have a bolster like so, if you're using couch cushions, maybe prop them up against the couch. Alternatively, you can also take this pose all the way to the ground. So it's going to be a reclined butterfly. I'm using some supportive props. It's kind of nice to take a long blanket like this and roll it like so, so that you can take that underneath. Your butt will come up to the bolster if you're using a bolster, and then recline back. I have some neck issues, so I like to put a block or a pillow behind my neck, but again, not necessary if it's not comfortable for you. So on the ground, this might look like so. So finding your positioning here for that butterfly pose, reclined butterfly. And just breathing here. And Swami Kripalu said, "My beloved child, break your heart no longer. Each time you judge yourself, you break your own heart. You stop feeding on the love, which is the wellspring of your vitality. The time has come. Your time to live, to celebrate, and to see the goodness that you are. You, my child, are divine. You are pure. You are sublimely free. You are God in disguise, and you're always perfectly safe. Do not fight the dark. Just turn on the light. Let go and breathe into the goodness that you are." And so taking 2 more breaths here. And then slowly and easily coming up. Moving any props out of the way. We'll be coming flat onto our backs on the mat for our final few postures here today. So I'm going to invite you to have your legs spread wide on the mat, arms here off to each side, gently though. This is, I'm going to take my right leg over my right ankle. I'm going to scoot my shoulders off to the right side if that's available. I'm going to bring my arms overhead. You might even take that right wrist with your left hand, really getting that stretch into the right rib cage. If you like, you can turn the head up to the right. We'll take 3 breaths here in our banana asana, opening up the ribs as the liver does, connecting to those lung meridian and intercostal muscles here. And after your 3rd one, release the right wrist if you have it. Bring your shoulders to the center and cross the right leg. And then take the left over. If that's not comfortable, bring it next to you, but over the right if it is. Bring the shoulders up to the right. And then if you like, you can grab onto that left wrist. Some people do forearm or, or elbow. I kind of like the wrist though. Be gazing off to the left, really opening up. Look at those intercostal muscles. 3 breaths. release the wrist. Slowly come back to the center, uncross. Maybe you hug your knees gently in and circle them around a couple times. Not your tightest hug or your biggest circle. I'm going to extend that left leg and scoot my hips off to the right. My arms will come to a T. I'm going to take my left leg over. It might be on a prop or it might be going towards the ground. My right shoulder stays down. My left hand can just put a little bit of weight. So that one-legged twist, again, those liver meridians, breathing here. And slowly come back to the center, square off my hips, extend my right, scoot the hips a little bit to the left, and then switch sides. Nice, full and easy breathing, about 3. And slowly come back to the center. Center yourself off. If you want to release the lower back by hugging knees and or rocking. I know some folks like a gentle, happy baby instead. Whatever you feel your body is calling for now. It doesn't even have to look like a formal yoga pose. When you are complete, then move into that final resting posture, Shavasana. Just settling in. Feeling the whole body just resting on the ground. There's nothing left for you to do. Nowhere to go. Just be. Slowly allowing the breath to return to normal. Perhaps inviting a little movement into fingers and toes. You might even circle the wrists and the ankles. Perhaps you take one last deep overhead vacation stretch. Maybe you hug your knees in and rock it out. Whatever's right for you, making your way to a fetal position, whichever side works best for you for today. And pausing there, you might even rest your ear on your upper arm. Thanking yourself for taking the time out to take care of yourself. Thanking your body for all it does for you. And very slowly, whenever it's right for you, you'll draw your navel into the spine to save that lower back. Elbow closest to the ground. An opposite hand will press down. Upper body strength is going to bring you up, and might even circle your hands to come back to center. You can bring your thumbs into the heart if you like. Maybe you bring your thumbs to your forehead for honest thought, to your lips for honest speech, and back down to the heart for honest intention. And namaste. The light in my heart shines in the light in yours. So thank you so much for being here with me for a Thankful Thursday. Always love to hear if anybody has a topic they'd like to have covered. I'd be more than happy to base a class on that. Next week, I will not be doing this because I will have an appointment, but I hope to be back with you in 2 weeks. Last Monday of the month is our group hypnosis. This month it is on better communications, healthy communications. Probably have a sample either the end of this month or beginning of next. Lots of things next month. Every Wednesday morning we do have a therapeutic yin class. It involves all the bowls. There's so many bowls. That's about all I have for you. So I hope you all found something to be thankful for today on Thankful Thursday. And thank you so much.